Welcome to a real cult classic, where we talk about, well, your favorite cult classics. A little bit of pop culture, a smattering of old Hollywood gossip, with a side of scandal and intrigue. I'm your esteemed cult leader, Megs, from the Cult of Megs on the Old Ticker Talkers, and this is my friend, well, your new friend, our cult elder, Auntie Amy. Amy, say hi to the cult.
Hi, cultlings.
So, Amy, I have to ask, how's your week been?
My week has been good. The weather's been a bit of a bummer for the old headache, you know.
Oh, that barometric pressure?
Yeah, the
that
old
got
headache
me down.
season. We're the same this way.
The pollen?
Allergies, activated, ready to go. But the week was made better by the fact that we were able to enjoy a Thursday night concert at the Commodore. If you want to tell the cultlings where we went, which is really a setup that you made happen.
I did. We went to go see my bestie, Shawn Desman. I don't know if he likes being my bestie, but that's what you get when you ask for a crushed video. You end up being my lifelong best friend. Sorry, Shawn Desman. But yeah, he was kind enough to put me on a guest list, and we got to go watch the show, and it was great. It was sold out. The carpet was squishy with joy and alcohol, and kids were dropping it low to shook, which was interesting.
Were they ever?
Children that were young enough for us to have birthed.
And did you find that interesting that the crowd was sort of split between people of our generation who kind of grew up with Shawn and a younger generation that I didn't know knew who Shawn was?
I was not expecting that. There's a lot of hormones in that audience.
Yes, R&B. There's a lot of sexy talk. I don't know if you're like me. You go, okay, first of all, you go to a lot of concerts, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do not. I think the last concert I went to was Natalie McMaster.
1992.
Yeah, maybe it was that far in my past. But I don't know. I had a really great time. And we were talking about this on the walk home, where it was so nice to see someone have a bit of a renaissance. And the way the crowd just was so happy and delighted to see him. I know he got a little emotional. Yeah.
We do love it when Shawn cries.
Yeah, we do.
Not in a mean way, in an endearing way.
We find it endearing and we want more of it. But he was so thankful. And I think there's just such an emphasis on young talent and finding like the new thing. And I just really loved being in a room with people who wanted to care for and support someone that had, you know, put a lot of his life and energy into a music career, and life happened and he stopped, and now he's back, and it was such a warm welcome. So that was really nice.
I thought it was a cool week for Canadian music because Shawn was in town, Sarah McLachlan was in town, Avril was in town, and Biff Naked announced that she's going to be putting out her new studio album, and it's been years.
Oh
We've been waiting for this album, so it's kind of like we get this nice little nostalgic tour de Canada coming up, and I feel like since the world is burning around us, it's kind of like a nice little warm hug covered in maple syrup.
Yeah. Well, I did see Biff Naked in concert when I was in high school.
Oh my gosh.
In Sudbury, Ontario.
I love that. Biff's the best. She's lovely.
She's so lovely. She's so cool. And I think in the same venue, I saw Holly McNarland. Do you remember?
This is very Ontario, Canadian.
It's very Ontario. But yeah, it was really fun. I also find, I don't know if you're like this, I become hyper aware of my environment in a concert setting, like groups of people. And I realize that I can never truly relax because I'm always assessing a potential threat. And my feet were really sore. I was like, God, I'm getting old.
I do prefer the Vogue and the QE for this reason. But I remember many years ago, I went to see Jimmy Eat World at the Commodore, and my friends were supposed to buy tickets, and they didn't, and I had to go by myself, and I was still living in Surrey, so I had to drive downtown by myself, and it was Christmas, and so I go into the Commodore, and the first people I see is like this guy who had a crush on me when we were younger, and he like told people that he did, but then he lied about it, and it became this big thing, and like it ended up with his friend yelling at me in the lineup for Death Cab in Seattle. Like, it was a whole thing. And he's like, these are the first people I see. And then I see a guy that he's there with this guy that I had a crush on as a teenager. as well as my friend's ex-boyfriend. And the ex-boyfriend goes to give me a hug, and the guy that I had the former crush on, like, went and hugged him around me, because he was always really weird about, like, we were young and stupid. And so I was just like, I can't be here right now. So I hid behind the Christmas trees. I sat behind the Christmas trees while I was waiting for Jimmy Eat World to come on. And then when they came on, I like emerged from behind the Christmas trees and watched them, but like totally aware that these guys were somewhere and I didn't want them. I didn't want to talk to them. And so during the encore, I just went and got my jacket and I left. And I was so mad at my friends because they should have been there to protect me.
Why didn't they get tickets?
Because they're dumb and they're boys.
God, when you're young and those situations happen, they're so intense on every emotional level, right? Like there's just this closeness to potential humiliation. Mm-hmm. And now looking back, I don't know if you have this where you think, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. As I was saying this, I'm like, no, this is what I want to be the case. I want this reality for myself, but I'm still that young girl who is just unable to.
Still staring at these people that like made my life a nightmare. And like were lying and stuff behind my back. I'm just like, nope.
No, that's true. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because these are the same people that you referenced in the last podcast, right?
Which ones were these? Who did I?
Well, the friends that were not necessarily supportive.
Oh no, those were like my core group of friends in high school. These were like, I actually have recorded an episode of me talking about my former friend Jam, as I call her, and this ex-boyfriend and like how it came to be. And he was in a band and she wanted me to like take her to band practice and like go to the shows with them so she wasn't alone, but also because I had my driver's license, and so she wanted me to have a crush on one of the members of the band so that there would be a reason for me to want to go. And at first I was like, I'm not interested, but then like I went and I hung out with him and he was like lovely and he just was always around me and I was like, oh, damn it,
he got
me. And I enjoyed, he was just a really nice friend to have, but then I started hanging out with these other people and they inserted themselves with him and stuff, and they started behaving in wackadoo ways, and like one of them liked me and I didn't like him, and he told Jam that he liked me, and then I told our other friend, I was like, I need to distance myself from this because I don't have those feelings. Yeah. And then I found out that Jam told him that she thought I could have those feelings for him, and which made it way worse. And then I'm in the lineup at the showbox waiting to go to Death Cab for Cutie with my friends, and this guy comes up to me with my former crush who drove them all down there because now they're besties.
Oh, gosh.
And he comes up and starts screaming at me at the lineup in the showbox that this friend never liked me, never had feelings for me, because he was just lying about it because obviously his tiny little ego was hurt. And Jam just stood there. Didn't say anything, didn't come to my defense, wasn't like, hey, cut it out. And then my former crush was just like, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't know he was going to do that. And I'm like, well, you could have said something too.
Oh, it's like the bystander effect where people just freeze up and it's awful. No, that's
like,
traumatizing.
You couldn't pay me to go back to being a teenager or early 20s at all.
What if we were teenagers together? Would you go back to that?
If we were teenagers together and I had the confidence that I have today, yeah, I'd eviscerate everybody. Actually, no, the problem is that I did have the confidence that I have today, but teenagers don't respond well to that. They don't like you holding them accountable. They don't like having a mirror shown to them. No. Like, that was the biggest problem with my friends, was that if I wasn't doing what they wanted me to do or what they were doing, then it was like I was judging them, not like, oh, this just isn't something that Megan is comfortable with or that wants to do. Like, oh, Megan doesn't want to get drunk in a hot tub at 14. She must be judging us, rather than like, maybe just that's not her vibe.
See, this is further proof that we would have been besties in high school. Because I, too, did not want to get drunk in a hot tub. And more because hot tubs are just cesspools of bacteria.
But you're also not supposed to drink in them. It's very bad. It's dangerous.
It is dangerous. See? You're assessing threats like me all the time.
I just wanted to turn in my humanities project. I didn't want to go on my lunch break in grade 9 and get loaded in a hot tub. Like, how absurd.
Well, here's a question for you, since we've kind of delved into this a little bit just in our little preamble here, but do you think your penchant for all things nostalgia come from a little bit like a wish to relive or repair that time period in your life that you don't want to repeat, or that you felt wasn't as good as it could have been with your friends and things? Like, do you feel like there's something about rebuilding that?
I think that when I look back, that it was as good as it could have been, especially comparative to other people's experiences. I had a lot of fun. I grew up in a really cool place. Like, we were going to the beach all the time. We would go, like, after we were done with school, like university, jobs, whatever, we'd get in the car, we'd drive to Seattle, we'd go see shows, and we'd drive home at, like, 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, we were just, like, I had a lot of fun. My friends, now that I look back on it as an adult, like, they weren't the friends that they should have been, especially for how I was to them, and that a lot of that had to do with the accountability, the fact that I wasn't turning a blind eye to the behavior. Like, I wasn't allowing people to treat me like garbage, and they were all treating each other like garbage. But I think I'm nostalgic because it was a good time, that, like, we used to, like, just hang out and watch Star Wars, and we watched movies all the time, and we went to movies all the time, and we were at the Croatian every weekend watching shows, and it was, like, this really nice, easy time. And even though, like, when I talk about the old crush, like, I didn't want to date anybody. Like, it was just nice that he was there and that, like, I could hang out with him. He was adorable, but, like, I didn't want to date anybody. I wanted to go into a pit, and if there was a cute boy, I could hang out with that cute boy, and I didn't want to be tethered down to a 16-year-old. Well, all my friends were, like, planning on marrying their 16-year-old boyfriends, and I was like, no, like, we're never gonna have this freedom again. And I'm not gonna, I know I'm not gonna marry somebody that I'm dating at 17. So why would I bother? Instead, I just married somebody that I dated at 22.
I was gonna say that's so sweet because of what happened later. But so that sounds like your lifeline then. It sounds like something that has since been giving you that same joy and that same sort of carefree, sense of self, almost.
I think the 90s were such a special time. In the early 2000s, it was like this time where we had technology, we had enough of it to make things interesting and to have access to these unique things, like being able to, like, chat with your friends on ICQ, and which is shutting down after, like, 29 years or something, which is nuts.
Wait, it was still operational?
It was still operating.
I didn't know that.
And, like, just, like, going on Napster and trying to find music and, like, getting your Winamp skins, and it's just, like, you had just enough that it was, like, so cool, and it was, like, all this new stuff was happening, but not too much that you could still be immersed in your life. Like, you still watched commercials, you still recorded things on VHS. If you wanted to listen to music in your car, you had to sit there and, like, record on a tape on your radio. And I think that we were just so much more patient. Time felt slower.
Yeah.
And everything felt possible, and all those possibilities that we were being offered don't seem to exist anymore. And so I think that's why a lot of us, and why, like, my TikTok resonates with so many people, because we were given so many promises. We're like, you go to university, you do these things, you're gonna have a house too, you're gonna have what we have. Watching people on minimum wage have a house and 3 kids and go on vacations and have a, like, healthy retirement fund, and now, like, we're being told we have to pay $1.7 million for those same houses, and, like, pensions don't exist. And I think that's why I'm so nostalgic for that time, and why a lot of people are, because it's a reminder of, like, when we had this hope that we don't have anymore.
It's true. There's a sadness to it. There's a duality to your channel for me in the way that it makes me feel, because sometimes I'm reminded of something, like I see a picture, an image, or a video, or I hear a sound, or I smell something that brings me to a place where that possibility thrived, and it makes me deeply sad, but also so joyful because I've experienced it, and there is an interest in reliving it and bringing it back to, our consciousness that has been a real lifesaver, I think, especially since we talked about this last time, since COVID. There's something about that time that I hooked really into nostalgia. It was like a lifeline. But I also, to your point of saying when we grew up and the amount of technology that we had access to, it was just enough because it wasn't overwhelming, right? It was just, you could harness it for what you needed to do. It was really linked to creativity. Like you sort of sought out what you needed, but you were still responsible.
I feel like it was the intention. Like everything you did had to be intentional. I always had disposable cameras in my car or a photo. Everything was on film. So when you took a photo, that photo was intentional because you had to make sure it counted. You had to pay for it. If you were texting people, I had the Rogers, My Five, so I had to be intentional about who was in my top 5.
Yeah.
Even phone calls, or even if you were texting, them being a text being $1.50, everything you did had to have thought behind it and intention behind it. And now everything feels so throwaway.
Yeah.
People think it's infinite, and there's just the lack of intentionality isn't there anymore. You can take 100 selfies, you can take 100 pictures of the same thing, and then it just sits on your phone and you don't look at it ever again. I think that's why I love the tangibility of printing out photo albums and doing stuff like that, so that you're really engaging with this material that you're creating and this legacy of content of your life that you're creating.
Yeah, there's a real loss of the sense of value. The value of time, of things, of experiences that we just, I think, had a keener sense of. And
a lack of object permanence, the way that I think younger people behave even on the internet, forgetting that what you say is forever, and people can save that, and we know that because we know it's lasting, we know it's forever, even though, our friends didn't have cell phones to take pictures of the things we were doing back when we were younger.
Thank God for that.
Just disposable cameras. And it feels like we get the importance of permanence and of remembering things, to not just treat memories like they're these throwaway things.
So true. Listen, I feel like I'm taking all of your time asking these questions. So the reason we're here today, Megan and I switch between recording in person and on Zoom in our respective homes. And we took advantage of this rainy day to hang out. And we thought we really wanted something with cozy vibes, because today is a cozy vibes day. And there was a recent video that Megan put out on her TikTok asking all of you cultlings to put some questions down that you wanted Megan to answer. And there were so many amazing ones. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to ask Megan some of these questions today in a longer format, so we can just dive in and, reintroduce ourselves to each other, and things that I don't even know about Megan that I want to know. So thank you for those. And this is where I kind of want to start. So, maybe we should put on some crackling fireplace ambiance music.
Go get a little hot chocolate, cup of tea.
Pan flute. One of the questions that was repeated was about a podcast, because this was before you announced that there would be a podcast. And so the answer to that is yes, we are inside of a podcast right now. It's happening. So these are in no particular order, except maybe the first two. I was pretty intentional with the first two. And they're all poached from you guys. So thank you. All right, Megan, number 1. And this was a question. How is your day going?
It's going pretty well. I get to hang out with my bestie, Amy.
I love that. I love that answer. And the second one, and perhaps the most important, why are you so adorable and cool?
Well, I'm an only child. My parents own their own business. They were busy a lot. And so I read a lot. And I played with a lot of Polly Pockets and My Precious Places. And I just kind of lived in my own little world. And I also knew that to get what I wanted and to get people to actually pay attention to me, I had to be adorable. I also was born with bright red hair and freckles and blue eyes, and nobody else looked like me, so you kind of got to be quirky and weird, because that's how people perceive you anyway.
we talked about this before, but I do find it interesting that all the Megans I know, and there aren't a ton of them, but they're all redheads.
Really?
Yes.
I'm the only Megan I've met that has red hair.
Interesting. All the ones in my life have had, or have currently, they're not gone, red hair.
It's are they Megans with an H? That's a pretty Irish. It's an Irish Welsh name. I've got the Welsh spelling.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there are H's in them, actually.
But that would make the origins are from those places, so it would make sense if they have family. They would be a redhead. I am a Scottish redhead.
Ooh, there is a Scotland question in here.
Oh.
Maybe I'll just go to that. Have you ever been to Scotland?
I have not. We've thought about it. We've been to England a lot because that's where my family lives, but I get car sick. So every time we talked about driving up north, we didn't end up doing it. But my aunt is from Scotland. She has red hair. We are not biologically related, but people think that she's my mother. It's weird. But I think that when Nate and I go back to England, that is my husband, his name is Nate, that we will go to Scotland because he really wants to go up there. And my aunt bought us one of those silly little pieces of land in like a conservation to make us a lord and lady. So maybe we'll go visit our square foot of land that's a scam.
I want to go with you.
You're welcome to come with us.
I want to go to Scotland and Ireland so bad. We talked about this earlier, but one of the questions was what was teen Megs like? So I don't know if you want to summarize, even use some descriptive language, but
Teen Megs was a skate punk who had blue highlights in her hair because her mother wouldn't let her dye her red hair a solid color because I was the only redhead. I know somebody asked if I was quiet. They felt I'd be emo quiet. I don't think I was quiet in a shyness. I think now there's a quietness about me, but if you know me, it's because I'm assessing your weaknesses. And that's why I was quiet. I like to observe people, and I like to be thoughtful in my reactions to people. I like to be proactive, not reactive. And I've always been that way, especially when you're a teenager. The perception of how you treat people and how you react to things, I think, is so heightened by the people around you that I tried to be intentional with how I engaged with people. And sometimes people would think that what I was saying to them was me being reactive, and I'd have to be like, no, this is intentional. I am intentionally being a monster to you because you deserve it. I know that like when I got older, because I didn't start consuming alcoholic beverages till I was 19, and people always wanted me to like get drunk. They were like, we want to see drunk Megan. And I was like, no, you don't, because I am myself, but turn the volume up to a 10, and that filter that's protecting you right now, it's gone. And I would sit there and I would obliterate people that I hated, and they would just laugh. They thought it was the funniest thing because they were too dumb to realize that I meant every word I was saying. Like, I remember looking somebody dead in the eye and being like, I think you are an idiot. Remove yourself from my presence. They're like, oh my gosh, Megan's so adorable. So like sometimes they would get annoyed because they'd be like, no, I want you to like literally leave me alone. But other times it was kind of like this weird superpower where I could be vicious and people would laugh. They'd be like, oh my God, isn't she the cutest? And I'd be like, I have just called you the worst things ever. And they'd be like, oh my God, look at her with her little blue cup.
And they'd think it was a bit.
Yeah, they think it was a bit. But like, I meant every word.
So alcohol is truth serum for Megan.
It's not even that it's truth serum. I would say it to I just lose the part of me that doesn't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
So it's like I'm still thinking it. I just don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah. But to the people who deserve it,
yeah,
you're saying. My goodness. I don't know that I've seen you. I've seen you a couple of times in that state.
Like tipsy? Or just mean?
Not mean. No, I've never, this is why I think this is funny, because I've never seen you mean and drunk. But I've definitely seen you, less reserved in that state.
It only takes one drink.
But
I'm a lightweight.
But I feel like you're so generous and, you know, you're very spirited. So it wasn't that much different. We would just laugh and giggle. Like, it was hilarious to see you in that.
I would say that, like, if people wanted to know what I was like as a teenager, it would just be Amy telling you what I'm like now. Like, my mom will tell you I've been this way since I was 3 years old. Since my consciousness kicked in, I've been sarcastic. I have been, like, observant. I'm a little bit of an idealist, but I'm also a realist. And I know somebody asked if I'd ever ripped a poster off my wall, and I was just like, never. Because when you're a redhead, people will, like, go on about your ginger temper. And when I was little, people would be like, oh, it's just her ginger temper, and be dismissive of my actual feelings that were totally valid. So I had to learn how to control it and be strategic in how I leveraged my rage. And so, like, I never, like, would walk in my room, like, rip a poster off. I'd be more inclined to turn off the lights, plug in my fairy lights, and play Def Cab for Cutie songs or, like, dashboard confessional songs to myself in the dark to calm down.
But that's incredibly, that shows a lot of emotional intelligence. There's, especially at that time, I mean, a lot of people have an inability to not be reactive, you know, especially when you're young. So that's incredible.
I got a lot of people around me who were always emotionally heightened.
Yeah.
And so I had to be able to read their emotions, and I couldn't react to them the way that I wanted to. I also think that the poster ripping off the wall thing is very much like a parasocial kind of a relationship that you have with, like, celebrities or, like, a band or, like, a famous crush, where, like, if you got upset and you were like, oh, and you ripped it down. And I never had that connection with anybody. Like, I think it's funny because when I do the videos that I do, people are like, you're obsessed with celebrity. And I'm like, I'm not. Like, I'm not obsessed with celebrity. If anything, like, a lot of people don't understand that you don't have to be obsessed or overly interested to do research on something and present it. If you've been to university, you spent 4 years of your life doing that for things that you have zero interest in.
Yeah.
And, like, you have to be engaging in your presentation in order to be successful.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I can write an engaging paper on waterlogged baskets, I can write an engaging video on Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck.
So that'll be my crushed request, is waterlogged baskets. Yeah.
From the Coast Salish peoples of BC.
That's amazing.
Right?
I mean, that's the other thing too. You have another podcast about historically inaccurate.
I got bored with that, though.
Did you?
I did. It was boring for me. That's why I stopped
interesting.
doing it. I think that's because the celebrity stuff is so easy, and it's something that I would be, like, a rabbit hole I go down anyway for myself. But I think that, like, I've never had that connection to celebrity. Like, if they do something stupid, I'm going to be like, I'm not going to support them anymore. I'm just not going to give them my money. It's not going to upset me. I've had, like, interactions with celebrities in bands where, like, direct interaction where they have been, like, unkind to me, and I just been like, okay, I'm not supporting you anymore. Like, this is not, like, I'm not gonna get upset about it. I'm not gonna rip your picture off my wall. I'm just not gonna give you my money.
So one question was, what's your fave pop culture decade?
The 90s, hands down.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you were alive.
I was alive during the 90s. I was a fully functioning human being.
All right, so proving that these are not in any order.
And just to say, Amy, do I look the way that I do in videos in real life?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Why? What do you mean?
People think I have filters. People think that I'm lying. So I just...
No.
And I know for anybody that, I know when we were at Shawn Desman, we had some cult members come up to me. They were very kind and lovely, and I hope that when you see me in public that I also look the same to you that I do in videos. No, Feel free to tell people that I do.
Megan is as cool and beautiful on camera as she is in real life, which you'll see. Maybe even cooler in real life. Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun.
There's some people
Shout
that came
out to
up.
Bree.
Bree, yes, Bree gave her name, and there was another
there was
lady.
Somebody else who was very lovely and kind. If you see me in Vancouver, you are more than welcome to yell at me, as long as it's something nice. And then run away. You don't have to actually engage with me if that makes you nervous.
Yeah, Megan is very considerate about interactions. However you want to do it, as long as it's respectful. Okay, somebody asked, do you ever visit the Okanagan?
I used to. My family lives up in the Okanagan. We go there a lot. I love the Ogopogo. There's really good ice cream. I know that I made reference to Kamloops in one of my, like, the Jennifer Lopez series, and how you have to get a Slurpee when you're making the drive down. Yeah, I used to get really bad heat stroke whenever we go up in the summer, though, and it made me really sick, so.
I don't think I've ever been.
You've never been you've never seen the Ogopogo?
I don't think so. Okay, here are a couple. And also the question from the Okanagan, I think, came from the sense of, if you're ever there, the person who asked the question would love to have coffee or something.
If I'm ever in the Okanagan, you can buy me an ice cream.
There you go. Somebody simply, favorite book and favorite song?
Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. We both love Rainbow Rowell.
I love her. Her name is a tongue twister for me.
Rainbow Rowell. I think we love her because she got her start writing obituaries, which is like my favorite thing. She's an amazing author, but Fangirl is my favorite. And what was the other one? Favorite song? Oh,
that's hard for you, maybe.
You know what? We're gonna go with what I have tattooed on me. I have "Passenger Seat" by Death Cab for Cutie tattooed on me.
Nice, easy. See, I thought you would have had a harder time answering that, but that's, of course.
I have lots of favorite songs. I love Dashboard Confessional and Death Cab for Cutie got me through high school, along with Cour de Pirate. I can't say that. Can you say that in French?
No.
Okay, we're both terrible at it. But yeah, Beatrice Martin, who's my mutual on TikTok now.
I know. We
love her.
Wild.
She got me through.
I love that, and that you were able to tell her that.
She's the best.
I find this who did you get your sense of humor from?
Oh. Somebody asked me that, and I said trauma. Oh, no, somebody asked me how I was so wise and insightful, and I said trauma. I grew up with, like, my family's funny. They're weird, and some of them are emotionally bereft, but, like...
On one side more than the other, or both sides?
Both sides. Very, very funny people, but probably due to trauma. My mom is hilarious. You met my mom? You've met my mom.
Of course.
Yeah. My mom is very funny, very dry, sarcastic sense of humor. My dad could also be very funny. The man could tell a story. Like, he would command a table. And my Uncle Bruce, my dad's younger brother, also, like, very good, like, storyteller, weirdo, loved him. My Uncle Richard, oh my God, in England, he is like my dad a lot. They're both very funny. He took me to a shipyard once when I was 16. They were like, we're going to go on an adventure. Took me to a shipyard, and he has a bald head. He looks like Mr. Clean. And he grabbed a pile of rope and put it on his head, and he does this little jig and goes, do-do-do-do-do. And then, like, but you weren't allowed to touch the rope. And, like, the shipyard people, like, we're going to get kicked out of the shipyard. Or we were at the Vatican, and he decided he wanted to take a picture with the Swiss Guard, and you're not allowed to go near him. And he just, like, trotted up to them, and they, like, had their spears out. And we were like, Uncle Richard, you can't take a picture. Like, he's a wackadoo. And then my mom's sisters, like, my Auntie Sandy passed away. Well, we were working together. She passed away.
I remember.
She had cancer for, like, 16 years. Oh my God, she also was a wackadoo, and she'd tell these stories that were true, but she would put this spin on them. And she would do impressions, like she would didn't have bangs, but she would roll her hair up into this like roll of a bang, and then she would like flip her lip up into her gum and like do impressions of people that she didn't like. Well, we were waiting to watch a movie in the movie theater. She would do that.
Oh my God, that's special.
So like I think that's just where I got it from. And I have a family of people, like we lost my grandmother when I was 3, and we just started losing people really early, and that's how we deal with hard things. Like even when we were in my dad's hospice room, we were cracking jokes because that's what he would have done. It's just life's hard, and it's harder if you don't have humor about it.
I agree with that. And also it sounds like you had a strong connection to storytelling and storytellers. I appreciate good storytellers so much, and if you have one in your family, it's you're key into so much of your own history, humor, like you're saying. It's so essential, and I value that so much.
You also get to see how other people react to the way, and so I think that helps mold your storytelling, because you're like, oh, like that's how you hit certain things to get a reaction, and like that's how you go big, and that's when you're soft, and like you kind of just watching other people's reactions to it.
So true. All right, here's another one. What are things in your personal style that you still use since you were young?
I still shop at Hot Topic.
We just went there. It was for Halloween. Didn't we go around Halloween?
Yeah.
Yes, I bought a Scream t-shirt.
We bought t-shirts at Hot Topic. I still wear checkered Vans. I've worn checkered Vans since I was a kid. I still wear Converse since I was a kid. Like, I still dress in all black. There is a period of time where I didn't, because I felt like I was a grown-up and I had to be like a grown-up, and I dressed more preppy. Like, I owned Sperry Topsiders, and it just wasn't who I was. And so now I'm just like, you can wear graphic tees, Megan. You don't have to dress like an accountant to be a grown-up. And if people aren't going to take you seriously because you're not in like a button-up shirt and some chinos, then they can kick rocks.
Do you have a hall pass?
No. We are very monogamous, and even the idea of a hall pass would violate that trust and monogamy. I know, like, it's interesting because there's people who obviously don't believe in monogamy, or like they believe in ethical polyamory, and they'll comment stuff on my page, and I'm like, no, I'm like deeply monogamous. Like, I don't think people understand, like, that's if the cheating we're done. That's both of our thing. Our hard stop is that if you muck about, if you're not happy and you muck about, we're done.
We talked about this at the end of our last podcast, actually, with the Trish Cyrus hall pass situation, because didn't she say that Dominic was her hall pass? And then I said that whole idea is sort of really weird to me.
Because it's like you're thinking about somebody in that way, and like I can't think about anybody in that way, and that's just me. And I know that there's this weird narrative, especially on the internet, where like that kind of happiness doesn't exist. Like, I watched a video from a girl who was like, oh, my husband checks girls out and he tells me. And people were like, well, that's weird. And she was like, no, it isn't. And I was like, well, I mean, there's something between being like, oh, Amy, that person is attractive. Just like objectively attractive. And anybody would see that, versus looking at them in an intimate way. And if you both agree on open relationships and things, that's rad, and if that's what works for you, that's rad. But like for me, it's just I only have those feelings for one person. That's why I married him.
Yeah.
Not even Min Yoongi is my hall pass.
Who?
Min Yoongi.
Oh.
Suga from BTS.
Behind you
He's
in doll form that I got you for your birthday one year.
Like, even when I think, like, I'm like, oh, that person's adorable, it doesn't ever pass my mind like that. It's just, I remember, like, when Tom DeLonge was my crush as a teenager, I loved him so much, and I had tons of, like, Blink-182 posters were plastered all over my walls. The minute that man got engaged, done. My crush was over. Like, everything about me is just like, nope. Off limits. It's
true. There was something about that when your crushes, when you were young, you found out. And at that time, when we were young, you didn't have the internet sort of checking in on every move they made and every hand-holding sort of picture. But it was devastating. It was for me. I'm more of a maladaptive daydreamer. Mm-hmm. I really fell into that type of stuff. So I would fall hard for my crushes, for sure. But yeah, if I found out they were engaged or they had a girlfriend, I'd be like, meh.
It was off limits. That's, I could never be the other woman. And I had this weird thing that would happen when I was younger, where my friends' boyfriends would try.
Yeah.
Because it always reminds me of Juno, when like they would talk about how like the athletic guys always want the weirdo girls, but it's not to date. It's not to take you home to meet the mother. They just want that notch on their bedpost.
Oh.
And yeah, they would like slip into my DMs and stuff, and I'd be like, I'm the wrong one. I am not the one for this. I will never be that girl to do that. If you're not happy, like, leave your partner.
They're so shady. Here's another one. And I think you've talked about this on your channel too, but do you have any creative hobbies outside of what TikTokers already know?
Well, I mean, contrary to the belief of some who are on my block list, I do have a life outside of TikTok. It's funny, I think that people see the videos and the quality of them and think that they take forever to make, but for me, they don't. And because we work together in marketing, that my workflow was insane, because we were on this like really short marketing cycle, which a lot of people aren't on. We didn't get 6 month, we were on 2-month marketing cycles. So I was just like pushing out content like nobody's business. So my workflow is pretty efficient. But I like to go for walks. I like to go up to Sephora. I call it urban hiking. I read. I don't get to read as much as I used to. I'm in a slump right now. I knit. I've shown some of my knitting on the videos. Yeah, I like watching movies. I like watching reality TV because it's nice to see people who are more miserable than I am and have more money than I do and are still miserable. Yeah, I write books in my spare time. That's what I used to do before I made videos. So yeah, I do have hobbies.
The next question is actually, how long does it take for you to put your stories together? I think there was a general interest in your process and how long it takes to get your content up.
It depends on the video. People like, it's interesting because people will, even though I say, like, especially in Crushed, like, if I missed something that you liked, please be respectful. People think that going, you missed this, is respectful, which, it's not. But I think that, like, it's mostly, like, I just look up articles, like, because I'm doing stuff that's old. There's tons of articles about it. I look up articles, and then I'll use things that are, like, kind of come up in those articles as, like, key clues if there's more interesting things that I want to pursue to go, because stuff, it's hard, like, the stuff that you're looking for, you have to dig for because it happened so long ago, and a lot of it happened pre-internet. So I kind of use that, and I pick what's interesting to me, and it's not interesting to everybody else. And I think I said to you, I texted you the other day that I'm changing it from those who can't do teach to those who can't do criticize.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easy to watch somebody else's content and to comment and be like, you should have done it this way. But, like, then make your own content. If you don't like the way that I make content, or you don't like what I'm not picking, then, like, make your own content. Or pay me to make content for you. You write me a check, and then I'll make the content the way that you like. Yeah. But they don't, like, it depends. Like, I could do research if, depending on the video, the length of video will tell you how much research was in it and how long the video took to edit. Because if it's, like, a 7-minute video, then that video probably took at least 20-25 minutes to shoot, which means it's going to take me double that amount of time to edit. Then I have to go and find pictures for, like, B-roll. And then I have to plop all of those in and watch it and make sure that everything makes sense and that I didn't forget anything. I'm also the only person looking at it. So when people are like, you said this the wrong thing, like, I'm the only one looking at it.
Yeah.
It's also free. It's free content.
I know, this will always
and then the
perplex
research depends. Like, when I do research for this, like for the episode that we're gonna record next, that's like 5 pages worth of writing, so that's a couple hours worth of deep diving. But for, like, a little 3-minute I remember when, that might take me like half an hour, 40 minutes while I'm watching a show.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. I think you're just very good at it, and so people want the sort
I
of
do have, like,
behind the
I
scenes.
have a background in, I know people message me and be like, how did you get your style? How did you learn how to do it? And the thing is, like, I've been working in marketing for years. And Amy knows that I was working in social media and events, and we would film everything, I would edit everything, Amy would proof everything with me, then we would have to come up with the digital marketing campaign to support it, and then we would post across all of our channels. So, like, it's something that, like, we have both been doing for years.
Yeah, and there's that process inside of it, but then there's the flair and your style and your humor and the way that you wrap all of your sentences together in this just Megan way that makes it so engaging and why we love it.
That's all of the drama and school plays I was in. I was the lead in my grade 6 play, The Jungle Book. I was Bagheera. My husband's parents were in the audience and had no idea that they were watching their future daughter-in-law.
Facts.
Crazy.
All right. So we talked about this off mic and whether you wanted to answer this, but you can also just edit this out or not answer this. But quite a few people want to know what your job is. And in connection to that, there were a lot of questions about whether or not you have any fetal collaborations of your own.
Okay, we'll talk about the job and you can tell me if it's getting too doxy. So I did work in marketing before in a creative role. I've worked in the event space as well, in social media management, digital media management. I currently work in philanthropy with a specialty in systems management, database management, systems creation, systems management. I have a specialty in auditing systems, making recommendations, cleaning databases, setting them up for people so that they work more efficiently, and also just in fundraising in general. And it's a pretty technical heavy job, so that's why I started making TikToks so I wouldn't lose the skill set that I had built up while I was working with Amy.
Unlike me, Megan has use of both sides of her brain.
As part of my INFJ personality type.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I keep forgetting what I was. You made me take that test. Here's one of my favorites, just because of what it'll lead to and what we get to talk about.
Wait, what was the second? Oh, fetal collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
I have no fetal collaborations. I have zero intention of having any fetal collaborations. I am 5'2", and I've seen gifs of what it does to your body when you're pregnant, and I don't want that to happen to me. I also like my money in my bank account.
Fair.
But I love my niece and nephew.
Do you ever? And they get spoiled, and that's good for them.
Everybody needs an Auntie Megan and an Auntie Amy.
We love her.
We do. We love our
nephews
and nibblings. That's what you call
nibblings.
them. Nibblings. We love our nibblings. We both have very cute nibblings.
We do. Do you have any pets?
I have 2 cats, Smalls and Harper. They are a year apart in age. Smalls is 12, Harper's 11. Amy keeps them alive when I go to Disneyland, and I bring her back presents to say thank you, even though she gets mad at me about it.
Yeah, because I don't need a bribe to look after my nieces, Megan.
It's not a bribe, it's a reward for cleaning up after Smalls' dino poops.
We were talking about this. She does poop quite a bit, and they're quite substantial.
She's a large cat.
She is a large cat, and that's okay.
She's thin, but she's big in size.
Yeah, there's no judgment here. They're both so squishy and lovely.
I do love them.
They're the best. Okay, here's a question. I think you really have talked about this in your makeup tutorials, but there is what's your favorite eyeshadow palette, and how you developed your sort of trademark eye makeup and style.
I have a lot of favorite eyeshadow palettes, but I think I love like the Kimchi Beauty palettes. I think are gorgeous, and they're at like a really fair price point, and they perform really well. I'm wearing it today. Amy, does my makeup look good today?
It looks stellar. I was going to ask you about this.
And they're drugstore prices, which even in Canada says a lot. So, and they're beautiful. But if like at a higher price point, like Pat McGrath and Danessa Myricks, nobody compares. Well, I mean, the Kimchi ones are pretty damn good, but like if you like a glitter and a foil or a metallic, like they're beautiful. Gorgeous.
What about Natasha?
Natasha, I don't like, maybe the palette that you have is better, but the one that I have is
Megan steered me towards a Natasha Denoni palette that I love, to be fair.
I don't really like, because the Sephora hasn't really been carrying her stuff. Like, you had to order that from her website, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's harder to get.
I did. Okay.
Oh, my style.
Oh, yeah.
My style comes from being an emo in the early 2000s, and just I used to wear like more like coppery, like muted makeup, and then I don't know. I'm a heavily tattooed weirdo, so my makeup might as well match, I guess. I think it goes with my personality.
I love your tattoos because they're so heavily colored and bold and have so much character and insight into you and your interests. Well, that was a question. Who does your tattoos?
Alexis Thompson at Woodland Artistry Collective. That's what it's called. Yeah. There's a bunch of really phenomenal artists in there. It's super inclusive. It's the safest, most comfortable space I've ever been in. Alexis has been tattooing me for almost a decade, which is a long time. And she's the best. She's just super creative and super smart, and she loves Star Wars and X-Men, and yeah, if you were ever in a fight, you'd want Alexis in your corner. She's pretty dope.
My favorite is I'll be texting Megan. Megan is someone I text the most out of anyone in my life, and she'll just send me a picture of a tattoo in progress. And I'm like, have you been getting a tattoo done this entire time? Are you okay? She's like, this one hurt.
They get a bit spicy towards the end, especially now that I'm tattooing the more sensitive areas of my body.
Real estate.
Yeah, it's getting low.
Okay. Here was one that we talked about again before we started recording, which I thought was a good question. Why cult leader? And the person prefaced it with, I love it, but I have a weird fascination with cults.
When I started doing, I can't remember when, it was something that I was doing for the Crushed episodes, I think, when I do my little call to action at the beginning, where I was trying to figure out different ways to ask people to share my content if they enjoyed it. And I just started saying, and help indoctrinate them into the cult of Megs. It was just a joke. And then people started picking up on it and talking about how they loved being part of the cult of Megs. And then I remember I was just like, Amy, I'm not talking about the books that I read. I also stopped doing that because I had a man, it's always a man, get mad at me for my review of what was it? It was an Irish author. He got mad at me. I didn't like it. I didn't like a book, and he told me to go back to reading comic books, which is insulting because comic books get taught at Harvard. And I also started this channel reading A Little Life. I also have an English degree, so it's just
I didn't know you stopped because of this male...
Well, I didn't stop. It was just people don't understand that because I don't like something that they don't like, that they don't have to come onto my videos and be rude to me about it. They can just scroll past. You can go find people that will give you all the confirmation bias that you want. People were being really insulting, because I didn't like something that they liked, that they took it as a personal offense, which is wackadoo to me. So I just stopped talking about it. Or if I said something that they felt wasn't how the book went, or a premise, they'd rip me apart for it. So it's just you know what, I'm just not going to do this anymore because I love reading and I take joy in it, and I'm not going to let people try to stomp out that joy, especially since it's impressive that they can read anyway. But I texted you and I was like, it can't be Megs Reads Good anymore because I don't review books. What if I changed it to Cult of Megs? And you were like, yes.
Yeah, because it's nice to have an example of a good cult,
right? There aren't very many of them, and we're an inclusive cult that also doesn't stand for bullshit. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite food or meal?
Pizza.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Do I see pizza boxes?
Oh, yeah, we had pizza last night. And whenever we go to Disneyland, I just want to eat at Naples Pizzeria in downtown Disney every night. And Nate will be like, you can't have pizza. And I was like, it's Disneyland. Why can't I eat Dole Whip's Churros pizza? This
sounds reasonable to me.
Right?
What do you get on your pizza?
If it depends, if I'm at a place that does a traditional Napolini style pizza, then I just a margarita, a fior di latte kind of basil situation. But I mean, I'm Canadian. I love a ham and pineapple. I love a Hawaiian.
Oh, see, my husband likes that too.
I love a Hawaiian. I also love an arugula prosciutto kind of situation. That's another favorite.
Well, that's exciting to hear because a lot of people are very strict with their pizza toppings.
I like a different, at Per Se, Social House, they do a carbonara pizza that's delicious. It's like carbonara pasta, and they like break egg. You get like eggs on them, and it's like runny, and it's cheesy, and it's got bacon on it. It's so good.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We need to have a pizza night.
We do.
You need to take me to your favorite pizza place.
Per Se.
Because my husband doesn't eat pizza anymore. He doesn't eat
I'm sure
many
he could
fun
find
things.
something else on the menu
It's
for his
true.
boringness.
But I can never order it because I feel
We
bad.
can have it, and he can order something else.
Here's one question that I thought was interesting too. Who are 2 people you know personally who have helped shape who you are today?
I've been thinking about this one, and I don't know if I can pick just 2. One of them would be my mom. She's incredibly strong. She taught me not to take shit from anybody. She always had my back if I needed her, but also always put me in a place where I could stand up for myself and feel safe to stand up for myself, and that if I needed her as backup, she was there in a heartbeat. She, like, we would watch movies together all the time, and she was like super creative. Like, she liked to draw when she was younger, and she owned a ceramic studio with my grandmother when I was little, and I used to go there and like paint mugs when I was like 2.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she just like, you know, like, my parents like had like ups and downs with like owning a family business and stuff, but like she always just made sure I had everything I could ever need or want. And she, you know, like coming into the world and knowing that your parent just like really wanted you is, I think that a lot of people unfortunately don't always get to have that feeling. And yeah, she just 100% like super supportive. I remember when I was 10 and she took me to Disneyland for the first time with my dad, and I was like, you know, we should do this every year. And she still talks about this. She's like, you looked at me, you're like, well, we should do this every year. And I rolled my eyes at you, and then I somehow ended up taking you back almost every year. Like, she's a rad lady, and I get my sense of humor from her, and my love of skincare and my knowledge of skincare from her. Mm-hmm. And then
I've been to Sephora with your mom. She knows her shit,
right? Like the original. She's a Clinique mom.
Yeah.
Although now she's like an Origins mom, but yeah, and she's like I have tons of perfume. I can't pick one, but she has like a signature scent, and it's just like smells like, you know, like just smells like your mom.
Yeah.
My second person would be my husband, Nate. We've grown up together. I remember my mom, because my dad was her second marriage. She got married pretty young, and she was like, you either grow together or you grow apart. And I think that Nate and I have done a very good job of growing together and like kind of figuring out life together and just being each other's like support systems, and like always championing each other, and like always just, and he's just such a good person, and like people love him. He's like everybody's favorite. I think my mom likes him better than she likes me, because he's just so incredibly kind and thoughtful, and he just always has my back. And you know, like I had to leave our place of work because of an incident with our director, and Nate let me do that. He was just like, this is crap, just leave. And he's always been like that. He's like, I've got you, just leave, we'll be fine. And I think that's really hard to find. And the internet, whenever I see people talking about their dating life, I have nightmares that I'm gonna have to go on Tinder, because he's just the best, and I will never find anybody like him again. But my third would be Amy, because Amy also,
I'm putting up my finger like, don't you dare.
Also is one of the most supportive human beings and most talented, and you're very lucky if you have her in your corner too.
Oh, Megan, you're gonna make me cry.
I'm gonna cry. That's why I cut it short. I
held up my mooncat nail polished finger at Megan.
I have to tell, and I'm gonna tell the story in a vague way, but I think Amy is from like this random small town in Ontario, and I've been making fun of her for being from this town forever. For like years, I made fun of her for it. And then one day my mom was like, well, you know, your grandfather was born in like a bigger town. Like I always thought he was from this town. He was born in this bigger town because the small town he was from didn't have a hospital, and it was the town that Amy was from. And then I found out that I have relatives buried in the cemetery there. And I was like, sorry, Amy, I can't make fun of you about being from your random small town anymore. But I thought that was like...
weird is that?
Right?
We should have known.
It's just nuts.
It is nuts. Like, what are the odds of that? But even we were talking about someone I grew up with, a dear friend named Shanna. And the fact that she found your channel just on her own, and I saw that she commented on your channel, and then you and I conspired to sort of trick her. I don't know, how did we do it? Because you started...
I think I was like, I think we have a friend in common. I think it's something like that we know somebody in common.
And then another friend from Toronto also discovered your channel without me introducing her to it. And yeah, the world is crazy.
And how smug did you feel that your friends liked my content?
So smug. Yeah. The fact that I'm reading questions to you from over 250,000 cultlings that want to know about you and who love you makes me smug, because I predicted this. And I also just love doing this with you because I learn things too. Here's one. I asked you before if I could ask it because, you know, we don't know. Because I don't know if I know the story. You have a small scar on your forehead, and somebody was very respectful and polite about wondering if there was a story about that.
There is. I was 6 years old in 1991. And I was obsessed with doing the knee slides that Elvis did on stage. And I don't know if anybody remembers. I think I told this story in the Crushed video on myself, which is also the weirdest thing I've ever done. But there's this gum you could get, and it was like it was like gold, and it came in like a bag, like it was like a miner's gold or something, and it was on my dining room table, and I went, look, Mom, I'm Elvis. And I ran, and I slid on my knees, and I underestimated my skills, and I went headfirst into our wooden dining room chair, and I split my head open. My mom said I popped a hole in my head, and I, for years, was looking for the piece that I popped out because I didn't understand that phrase. Aww. And I had blood dripping down my face, and my mom was panicking, and I was super chill. I was like, you think people are going to buy me presents? Like, that was my... And she rushed me to the hospital. And they took me into a room by myself to make sure that my parents hadn't done it to me. And then I had to get 8 stitches. And my dad came in, and he had to stand at the end of the table, and he was holding my feet. And he looked like he was going to cry. And this is a man that had to get over 200 stitches in his fingers when he, like, cut them up in a model airplane propeller. He, like, gutted his fingers. But he was, like, crying at my 8 stitches. And I was fine till the 6th stitch. That one really hurt. And I thought I was going to get an Oopsie Daisy doll for it, and I didn't.
You didn't? Did you end up getting one in later?
No, I never got an Oopsie Daisy doll. But the funny thing is that Nate, my husband, has a scar in the same area that he got the same year. No, would he have been the same year? He's a year younger than me. So yeah, I think it was like the same year he ran into a light pole with a hockey stick, and the hockey stick hit him in the head. So we have like scars on the same. I'll get him to show you after.
Oh, that's so weird.
Isn't that weird?
But also, did you ever do the Elvis slide again after that?
No, I didn't. Oh. I was like, I'm too good. I gotta save it. I'm too powerful.
Oh, I'm just picturing this. That brought me so much joy. I'm sorry.
I have been this way my entire life.
I could not have predicted that was the reason you got that scar, which is very light, and I don't even see it anymore.
I think people see it in certain light. I used to have like a pretty big one. You can kind of see it sometimes down my cheek from when my cousin Ryan decided to pet my cat Sammy's stomach, knowing that she hated it, and I got the brunt of it on my face.
Oh my god! No, I've never noticed
I had to
that.
have like bandages on my face like Nelly for like a week.
So many injuries when you're a kid, I swear.
Never broke a bone, though.
Well, let's knock on wood here. My Italian superstitious sort of vibes are going off, and I want to make sure I want to protect you. Another thing, so people are obsessed with your glasses, your makeup, your style, and your haircut.
Yeah.
And they want to know where you get your haircut.
I get my haircut at the Grove off of Commercial. They have multiple locations, one in Chilliwack and one in Vancouver. I go to the one in Vancouver. I go see Allie Isles. I've been going to her for like 8 years because Amy knows I'm a fiercely loyal person when I find people that I actually like. And Allie's been cutting my hair since she was in Gastown. Yeah, she's great.
And is there, because there are people who wanted like side, back, and front pictures of your hair so they could hand that picture to their hairdresser.
I know people have taken screenshots from that one video I did.
Is there, do you have a description for it? Do you say
it's like a mullet pixie kind of a thing, like a shaggy mullety pixie. I always find just find pictures that you like and show them to your hairstylist and tell them what you like about each picture, and they'll let you know if they can combine it, if it works together.
And is that what you did?
Yes, that is what I did.
We just want to know. I want to be thorough here because there have been requests, which I don't blame. Okay. I want to do a super speed round.
Okay.
So I'm just going to ask you a bunch of these, and we don't need to go deep into them, but I just find them fun, and they were all from the comment section. So this one made me laugh. Are you a face forward or face away shower person?
We have a separate bathtub from our shower, and our shower is like a single stall shower, so a combo of both because I have no option.
Lefty or righty?
Righty.
Creamy or chunky peanut butter?
Smooth.
Favorite dinosaur?
Brachiosaurus. Or a Dilophosaurus, because that's the one that kills Nedry in Jurassic Park, and he's a dickhead. And I actually might be getting it tattooed on me, so.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cereal?
Oh, Honey Nut Cheerios.
Is it Megan or Margaret?
Megan.
What's your sign?
Pisces. My big three are Pisces, Scorpio, Pisces.
Good. I was going to ask you. Favorite snack food?
Oh, do I snack? I like popcorn. I like, the little Quaker rice cakes, but the minis, like the dill pickle ones.
Yeah,
I like
those are so good. Are you into dill pickle? Everything?
I love dill pickle.
Me too. Oh, so good. Tea or coffee?
Oh, coffee in the morning, tea later in the day.
Lisa Frank stationery or a caboodle filled
Lisa
with
Frank
Claire's
stationery.
Jewelry. We don't even let me finish. I know.
For now and forever, Scholastic Book Fair, Lisa Frank posters. Oh, my life.
I know. Don't you miss? Oh, I miss that.
I miss it so much, and they're not the same. I'm not going to tell you how I know that because that would be doxing myself. But
I don't. What do you mean they're not the same?
They're not the same. Somebody did ask if I was a teacher. I'm not a teacher.
No.
But I do know the state of a Scholastic Book Fair, and that's all I'll say.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no.
They're not the same as they used to be. They don't have the same, feel to them.
No. But also on the Lisa Frank subject, I'm so obsessed that I have...
You bought Crocs.
Crocs.
Yeah.
Lisa Frank Crocs. I got the pink ones, and then I tried to get the blue ones, but something happened in transit, and then I was like, it's too much. I don't
Do they
care.
have Lisa Frank? What are they, gibbets?
Yeah.
I was going to call them giblets.
Yes.
Do you have the new Lisa Frank gibbets?
Yes.
Of course.
I think I bought extra ones, but they were lost in transit with the new ones, but
rude.
I just thought it was too much. And also, they're such high risk for dog chewing.
Yeah, because
so
they
I
are
have
like
to
a
hide
comb,
them.
basically.
Yeah. They're so tempting, so they have to...
Got that good gum feel.
That good gum feel.
Yeah.
All right, well, this ends my my poached questions, but I know that you wanted to ask something.
I know we gotta wrap this up so we can go to Miniso for you.
Yeah.
Before stuff closes. Hey Amy.
Yes.
Somebody asked me what my first CD or favorite band kind of was. So I want to know though what your first favorite band was, the first tape or CD you ever bought was.
I have a very strong memory of sitting on my neon pink beanbag chair in my bedroom and listening to a tape that was a compilation of 60s hits. And I believe the song I was obsessed with that led me to them was Jackson 5, Rockin' Robin. I was a mixed, like, I loved oldies when I was very, very young, which then sort of...
You're an old soul.
Yeah, and then it went into anything to do with fiddle, like I told you, Nana Master, and then it went to Backstreet Boys, and then Big Wreck. Like, those are my... And then Big Shiny Tunes, like, all the sort of compilation albums and things that Much Music would put out. I liked to mix. I always had a very eclectic...
I wonder if people are putting together that when I do those videos in September for my friend Amy's birthday, that they're for you.
Yeah, Megan has been so kind that to put videos together for me, and one of them was Big Wreck. I was properly obsessed, and I do have a band story for that too. But I was obsessed.
We should get into I have band stories as well.
You would have so many more, but we should definitely go into our like concert stories. Yeah, I loved music. I actually use music a lot, but I don't have... one thing I will say, we were talking about friends. One of my elementary school friends, who was cool, and she was so obsessed with Australia and Silverchair. I believe she now lives in Australia. Like, she moved and is married to an Aussie and like lived... Like, she was obsessed with Daniel John, to the point where I went to her house once and we were listening to Silverchair, and I said she had one of those what were they called? They were just one of those pamphlets for CDs, like, and they were numbered.
Like the catalog
kind of like
thing
it was
where you could order them.
Yeah, they were very old school, but we had one of those that we were looking at, and I said something to the effect of, "Oh, maybe I'll get the Silverchair CD as well." And she kind of stewed on that a little bit. And then at one point she looked at me and she said, "Actually, can you not get Silverchair? Because they're my thing."
What?
And then I was embarrassed because I just felt bad that she felt like I was trying to steal something from her. So she suggested that we look for a band for me to like. And we were just going off of the pictures of these albums. And I think we picked some totally obscure 70s band that I had to pretend to like and order the CD of so I wouldn't upset her like fandom of Silverchair. What was
she would have hated me. I loved Silverchair.
Yeah, she was really possessive. And listen,
that's such a weird teenage thing. Like, I had friends like that too.
Yeah.
Like, they'd be like, how... I remember one time I made my MSN Messenger name like a Saves the Day lyric, and this girl that I knew named Kat, it was terrible. She was like, "That was my username last week." And I was like, "And do you own the copyright?"
I know, good Lord. There were so many things like that. Yeah. The band it wasn't maybe obscure, it was Glass Tiger. The most uncool thing for a teenage girl.
Well, she got like Neon Ballroom, Frog Stomp. Yeah,
exactly. The other thing that was really popular when I was in high school was the tank top over a white t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? When that
style
like the
came
baby
in.
Tee, yes.
Yeah, Clueless style.
Which is back now.
Yeah.
And I love, because Clueless just drove so much style and music and all that stuff. But I remember, like, I was in a very remote town, so we only got so many stores, and it was like coveted, and somebody had bought that combo first. And then my aunt took me shopping, and she knew I really liked it. I tried to explain to her that I didn't think I could buy it because my friend... And anyway, she ended up saying the thing that we should all sort of be practicing, which was, if you like it, you should buy it. It's fine if two people have the same. And I wore it once, and I was like a pariah. Like I was just looked at like I was copying style. So I've had traumatic experiences with that stuff, which is really fun and hilarious now looking back, but it was bad. Yeah.
That's so like...
Yeah.
The lack of rationale of teenagers being like, there's only 2 stores. Like, of course, and you don't have the internet.
I know. We didn't back then, but it was like people really wanted to protect what they liked, and you couldn't like the same thing. That's what it is.
I refuse. I remember when at grad that a lot of local stores, if you bought a dress, would write down your name and what school you were from. So if somebody else came from that school, they couldn't buy the same dress. So I found this dress and I went to buy it and they were like, no, this girl has it. And I was like, screw her. So I went and I found it in New Westminster where they weren't keeping the list, and I just bought it. And then I showed up in the same dress and we just took pictures together. We thought it was hilarious. I knew she had the dress because they told me.
But who cares? Why is it the store trying to...
Right? Because it was like this thing so that there wouldn't be like girls wouldn't all show up in the same dress.
Oh my gosh, that is insane. It's not the store's responsibility.
But I loved it, and I already didn't want to be in a dress, so I was like, I can't not get this dress that I love.
Good for you.
And so I just went to New West, and she thought it was funny, and we took pictures together, and we were just like, we both loved the dress.
See, that's a well-adjusted teenager.
Right? Her name was Kanda, and she had a gecko tattoo.
Okay, we love her
and
more.
She was in band, so that's why she was like a chill person.
That is so funny. Okay, I have my last... Hey, Megan.
Yeah?
I saw this story on TikTok and I wanted your viewpoint on it. I think the person has since taken it down.
Of course.
But it was a woman who had gone on a date with a man. 2 very casual dates. He hadn't been to her place. She hadn't told him her address or anything like that. They were very casual dates. But on Mother's Day, she received a bouquet of flowers that were written, and the card was written through the perspective of her dog, and they were actually from this guy. So this guy found out that she had a dog, and he wrote this letter that was like, you know, Happy Mother's Day. I heard you went on a date with this great guy. You know, that type of thing.
Okay.
And the woman was like, I didn't tell him where I lived.
Oh.
And a lot of people in the comments were saying, oh, that's such a sweet gesture. That's so funny and creative. Like, that's so nice. He's putting in all that effort. And then she was saying, look, I appreciate that, but there's also boundaries with privacy. Like, how did he find my address? Anyway, she later revealed that he worked in law enforcement. And she didn't specify what role he kept in law enforcement, but essentially she texted to thank him, but also to ask, how did you get my address? And he kept basically just blowing her off, saying, oh, I have my ways. And she kind of went, that's not good enough. How did you get my address? It's just, I'm a little uncomfortable with it. And he basically copped to the fact that he used a program, like some program,
like the database,
like that you can find, which meant that he had access not only to her current address but previous addresses and all of that stuff. And she was like, I was really uncomfortable with this, but I think the majority of the comments were like, this is really cute. And I thought, I think this is an invasion of privacy for sure. I was on her side. I thought, like, you don't know this guy, right? What do you think?
Well, as somebody who manages data, who manages people's privacy data and has to comply with not only data privacy laws in Canada, but like data privacy laws in like the UK, which are incredibly strict, that's a fireable offense. Like, yes, the gesture is cute, but the way he would have, like, if he had texted her and been like, I'd like to send you something, like, can I know where you live? Fine, that's consensual, but his behavior is not consensual, and if he's going above and beyond what he's technically, like, legally allowed to do, what else is he not, what other boundaries is he gonna press? I really hope that when she got those comments that she understood that, like, her boundaries were correct, like, the way she was dealing with it was correct, and that their weird perception of it was not her reality.
Yeah, she made a follow-up video saying, you know, I appreciate people saying this. I also just feel like it fell under the, you know, he's just trying his best. Like, you want men to make effort, and they do, and then you criticize them, and you just go, wow, we really don't understand nuance in these situations.
There's no
at
nuance.
all.
There's
and,
no
like,
gray
the bar
area.
is so low, right? But it's true. I think, like, what it would have taken just a simple text message to say, I do want to send something to you, and then she would have said, I'm not comfortable, or sure.
That would have been, that's where the bar should be. It's having that's communication, that's And if she had been like, I'm not comfortable with it, and he could have been like, okay, cool. Just want to let you know I was thinking of you. Like, how sweet would that have been? Now you're respecting my boundaries. You're letting me know you were thinking of me, and everybody's happy.
Because it still would have been a surprise. I think the way to do it, or the way that he did it, was through the perspective of the dog, was
right.
Cute.
But he could have just been like, I'd like to send something to you. I was thinking about you. I want to send you something to cheer you up, to make, you know, whatever. I just want to send you a little something. And maybe that like interaction would have made her go like, yeah, sure, I'll give you my address. Like, that's chill.
Let's see, we're on the same page. I knew we would be, but I was interested in presenting this to you and seeing what you thought, because I was like, wow, these comments are not it.
But that's why I have nightmares about having to go on Tinder, because I just I guess so. Those are all the questions that you have for me.
I know you've already done a video going into some of the questions from your cultlings, but this was nice for me, selfishly, to sit with you and learn some new things.
I'm glad I could take you on this journey with me.
I'm so glad.
Yes, that's all from us for this week. Just got to come up with more stuff to talk about. Anyway, that's all from us this week. We hope you like this one.
Have a great day.
And may the cult
be with you.